Reps okay 10 billion naira for anniversary celebration. Reject Jonathan's ban on Super Eagles. And Coup plotters reap dividends. Hello and welcome to House Reports on Internet Television International ITI. I am Rachel Owa. Members of the House of Representatives on Tuesday okayed plans by the federal government to spend 10 billion naira on the celebration of the country's 50th independence anniversary. However, House Minority Leader Mohammed Ali Ndume was against this decision.
The executive branch has submitted a supplementary budget requesting us to approve certain money for the 50th anniversary, and we are yet to do that. But to my greatest surprise, and to the nation generally, federal government or the executive branch have already started spending money. First, they unveiled the flag for the 50th anniversary. Second, now they have moved to London for a summit. And you can see in today's newspapers, Mr. Speaker, that in this day of today, it reports that Corona over Nigeria at 50 summit in London. And the nation says that outrage over governors, ministers, and UK jamboree. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, we have a responsibility. We are the representatives of our people, and wherever such thing is done, there is a need for this honorable house to speak on behalf of Nigerians. And we all know, as representatives of our people, the feelings of Nigerians generally about proposed spending of 10 billion naira on the 50th anniversary. I feel that
it's okay. Now, the question really is just to find out whether this is urgent enough to be discussed in the first place. That is the question he's asking for. So I'm going to give it to the floor to even decide whether or not to even begin to look into this matter. Okay? So therefore, the question is to consider whether it's urgent at all. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The nays have it.
The proposal from President Goodluck Jonathan to slash the budget of 4.6 trillion naira by about 40% passed through second reading at the House amid disagreement. The House also eventually approved 639.8 billion naira supplementary appropriation by the federal government for the current fiscal year. Out of the supplementary figure, the bulk of 507 billion naira went to recurrent expenditure. About 200 billion naira was allocated to settling monetization areas of Power Holding Company of Nigeria and other public sector employees threatening to go on strike. Now, 130 billion naira was allocated to projects left out in the original 2010 budget. The Independent National Electoral Commission now has the power to deregister political parties. Reps agreed on Wednesday that INEC may deregister political parties if they breach any of the requirements for registration or fail to win at least a seat in the National or State Assembly elections. If the Senate also goes with this, the new legislation will effectively checkmate the proliferation of political parties and discourage the existence of mushroom parties. Thursday's plenary started on a sporty note, with members passing a resolution urging the president to reverse his order to suspend the country's national team, the Super Eagles, from all international engagements in the next 2 years. The lawmakers noted that withdrawing the national team from international engagements would not only worsen the apparent crisis facing football in Nigeria, but could also earn the country the wrath of FIFA. Honorable Emmanuel Jime, who sponsored the motion, reacted thus.
When you say you're withdrawing for 2 years, Honorable Speaker, you have to understand and put it in context. It's not only 2 years. It means, sir, that you are no longer going to participate in any qualifiers. It means that you're not going to do anything in the next 2 years, which means that in the next 4 years, as a matter of fact, the next 6 years, as a matter of fact, we are not going to be engaged in any form of football. I think that this decision was not very well thought out. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I call on this August Assembly to make the intervention now. It may be popular on the streets, that decision, but it is not a well thought out decision, and leaders don't govern on the basis of sentiments on the streets. That's why we're leaders, Honorable Speaker.
Minority Leader Alhaji Muhammad Ndume was one of the supporters of the president's decision.
Football, which is not our priority for now. It is not the priority of majority of Nigerians. Majority of Nigerians, Mr. Speaker, are going on hungry. Our educational system has collapsed. We have to pay attention to our security. That is our priority, Mr. Speaker. And if to say we are getting results, that is a different thing. We are not getting results from this. So why should the government be spending money without any result?
Chief Whip of the House, Emeka Ihedioha, rather backed Jime's motion.
I believe it is common knowledge that football in Nigeria is a unifier that brings all tendencies together. And it has been so from time immemorial, even at our worst and our lowest moments. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, having said that, I quite understand the feelings of the president and the presidency. But I think this situation calls for a situation where we have to balance the equities and determine what the merits and the demerits are. And I believe in this case, the merits or the demerits of banning Nigeria for 2 years, or FIFA, or disbanding FIFA, the demerits far outweigh the merits.
The House later passed the motion in a majority voice vote and mandated the Committee on Sports to probe the abysmal performance of the team in South Africa 2010. Coup plotters reap dividends of democracy. Thursday was a smiley day for former military rulers in Nigeria, some of whom got into power through force, as the House reversed itself on a legislation which had earlier excluded them from enjoying the privilege of pension. Chairman House Committee on Rules and Business, Itai Nang, who sponsored a motion for the recommittal and third reading of the bill, argued thus.
Former military heads of states or presidents are recognized under the Constitution as former heads of government of this country. And that is the issue that I pray the House to go recommit this bill, go in to reconsider this question. Mr. Speaker, in the consideration of the bill as it is, and what I want the House to reconsider is that it's based on item 3, is based on part 1 of the third schedule to the 1999 Constitution, which recognizes former heads of state and gives them constitutional roles.
However, a number of lawmakers raised objections to the move.
Is to include the former head of state and legislators as head of government. But the same bill is saying, for avoidance of doubt, the benefits stated in this bill shall not apply to persons removed from any of the offices referred in this bill. Now, the former head of state, Yakubu Gowon, who is a member, was removed from office.
Read that.
So now,
read it once more.
It says, for the avoidance of doubt, the benefits stated in this bill shall not apply to persons removed from any of the offices referred to in this bill. Now, when you're talking about former head of government, mostly former head of government were removed from the office. And you are making this law for their benefit. And the same clause is saying now that they should be excluded, especially our former members.
Honorable Tegu Tegba also raised another objection that it was wrong for the parliament to establish another pension scheme for former heads of state, former speakers and their deputies, as well as former chief justices after the enactment of the Pension Reform Act 2004. In the face of this argument, the House made necessary adjustments and passed the bill. The bill provides pension benefits for former president, former vice president, former Senate president, former speakers of the House, former chief justices of the Federation, and former speakers of state houses of assembly. That's it on this edition of Hearts Report. Thank you for logging on.